So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from Brussels. My name is Antonio Venosa. I'm the Executive Director of the European Transport Safety Council, and I would like to welcome you to the Global Traffic Education Seminar, the LEARN Global Traffic Education Seminar. LEARN is an ETSC project that focuses on improving road safety education in Europe. So if we focus on Europe, why are we holding a global seminar, you may be asking? Well, there are several reasons for that. First and foremost, we realized that the LEARN project has sparked interest a bit all over the world. Each time we have the annual LEARN European Education Seminar, we get requests of information, we get presentations of participation from all over the world. We had LEARN featured in journal articles in Australia, for example. We had non-European authorities requesting presentations and introductions about LEARN. So we thought it was time to have a global education seminar with opening the possibility to participate and present to non-European countries as well. And actually, even though LEARN has been traditionally focused on Europe, we realized that the recommendations, the guidance that have been created under the project to improve the quality and provision of road safety education are actually high level and can be applicable across the world. This will be explained later in his presentation by the LEARN project manager, Frank Mütze. And LEARN's aim is also to enhance, to widen the community of road safety education professionals. And we really think that today's seminar will be an opportunity to do so. Before we start, I would like to warmly thank all the speakers, all the attendees. Some of you had to stay up until late. Some of you had to wake up very early. So we really want to extend an extra thank for making this effort in order to participate to the Global LEARN Traffic Education Seminar. I would like also to thank our supporters, the MAPFRE Foundation and the ADAC Foundation. Before we start with the presentation, I will give them the floor to introduce themselves, but also to say why they believe it's important that they work with us, they cooperate, they support the activities under the LEARN project. We will start with Annika Noe from the ADAC Stiftung. We are delighted to welcome them as a new partner as of the end of 2025, beginning of 2026, and we do look forward to a continuous cooperation with them. So, Annika, the floor is yours.
Hello, I hope you can see me and hear me.
Very well, and we can hear you loud and clear.
Thank you very much. Dear Antonio, dear Frank, dear colleagues, thank you very much for the warm welcome. My name is Annika Noe from the ADAC Foundation, ADAC Stiftung, as we say in Germany, and it's a real pleasure to speak today in this new role as the official new partner of the LEARN project on behalf of the ADAC Stiftung. Thanks again, sincerely. Thank you all for the great collaboration in the past, for the openness of the LEARN network, and for creating this space where expertise, practice, and also politics truly come together. The topics we are discussing here today, and which we have discussed in the past, road safety, mobility education, and the protection of children and young people, are not only highly relevant to us, they are urgent. And I think they can't be addressed in isolation or at a national level alone. So this exchange and the shared learning and common standards are essential. So we, the ADAC Stiftung, we've already been part in the Learn Expert panel in the past, and this experience already was extremely valuable for us. I think it's a very strong group. We've had inspiring discussions, and we've already taken many ideas that we've discussed back to our work in Germany. So that's exactly why I'm very pleased now to strengthen our engagement and to contribute more actively as a partner. And finally, I'm drawing also your attention to Melanie. She's also online, and she will share concrete insights and deep dive into our approach in Germany. And she'll also say a few words about the ADAC Foundation. So from my side, thanks again for the collaboration, for this opportunity, and I wish us all an inspiring seminar.
Thank you very much, Annika. And indeed, we do look forward to hearing more from Melanie. And we are delighted to continue working with the ADAC Foundation. And now it's my pleasure to give the floor to Jesus Monclus, whom I already see on screen. Jesus is Expert Director of Road Safety and Prevention at the Road Safety, Health and Prevention area of the MAPFRE Foundation. Cooperating with ETSC on all sorts of areas, education and learning is just one, but a very important one.
Thank you very much, Antonio, also for the introduction, and I'm really happy to be here. I'm not going to take a lot of time, just a word of gratitude, first of all, to ETSC, Antonio, Frank, and the rest of the team for coordinating so successfully this Learn project. Also, I want to thank all the extended Learn family, experts, those who are attending today and those who are presenting today. I'm very happy to see that I'm familiar with most of the presenters, so that's very nice feeling. And in particular, I would like to say hello and thank one of the presenters that, as you, Antonio, said, woke up very early today, is Dr. Michael Hirsh from the University of Massachusetts Memorial Health Hospital. We are very happy. We are really proud and honored, not just happy to have a partnership with Dr. Hirsh and his team in the United States. And of course, I would like to express my sincerest gratitude to the ADAC Foundation, to the ADAC Stiftung, to Annika and Melanie, not only for being a long-standing partner of the Learn family, but now to join those who, as Fundación MAPFRE, are supporting the project. The reason we are supporting this project is is very simple. We believe in safe and sustainable mobility education. We want to learn and we want to share and we want to be part of this tremendous and wonderful movement of educating children, boys and girls in safe and sustainable mobility. Fundación MAPFRE has activities in this area in road safety, safe mobility education in 20 countries around the world, starting from Turkey, also in Germany, in Malta, in Portugal, in Spain, the United States, and in most of the largest Central and South American countries. I'm also very happy that this is the first global seminar that was originated because ETSC and the partners realized that there was more and more interest from other parts outside Europe. So this is a huge milestone, and thank you, Frank and Antonio, for proposing this first global seminar. And I would like to finish by announcing that hopefully we will also be organizing in Madrid in the month of November. This is very early news, and I hope that everything goes fine. But in Madrid, we would like to organize an Ibero-American Learn seminar. This is just a very preliminary stages of conversations. It will take place in the week of the 5th of November, not with The date has not determined yet. But that week, the Ibero-American Secretariat is hosting in Madrid the yearly summit of heads of government and state in Madrid. So the Ibero-American Road Safety Observatory may come to Madrid to also organize its General Assembly, and so will the Ibero-American Federation of Road Victims, FIGB. And we are mobilizing the whole society here in Spain and in Ibero-America in order to introduce the subject of road safety in the agenda in the final declaration of this head of state and government summit in Madrid in November. We will hope that we will organize also a very short event. We are trying to come up with a new narrative, with a new way of motivating politicians and decision makers that more investment must be put into road safety. And also we are working on different tools of visualizing how the region may gain more progress than in the past years in the region. The prospects, the outlook is that we might end the decade of action with more fatalities in the region than we had at the beginning. This is the worst news for so many people that hopefully we will be doing our part in November, and together with the Learn project and together with the ETSC and the entire Learn family. So thank you again, and I wish you a useful and fruitful global seminar. Thank you, Antonio.
Thank you very much, Jesus, also for telling the audience that the non-European exposure of Learn does not end today, but will continue in this 2026. And this is just normal, we believe, because, of course, road safety education is not only important in Europe, it's important in every part of the world. But now, I'm delighted to give the floor to my colleague, Frank Mütze, who is the project manager for Learn. He will first give a presentation about the Learn project and then take care of the chairing of the rest of the seminar. Many of you, if not all of you who have registered today, know Frank, so I don't really need to tell you about the passion, competence, dedication that he puts in all his work, and especially in the Learn project. And I can safely claim that if Learn is so successful, it is, of course, thanks to our experts, to our members, to our participants, but they need somebody like Frank who is motivating them all to do excellent work. So, Frank, floor is yours for Learn and then for chairing.
Thank you very much, Antonio, for the nice words of introduction, and warm welcome also from my side to this first Global Traffic Education Seminar. Very delighted that we're doing this at a global place today. I'll be introducing shortly the Learn project, but as Antonio mentioned, I'll have, compared to the previous Learn presentations, a bit more global perspective. And indeed, as Antonio mentioned, I'll look into why we feel the Learn key recommendations, although drafted initially for Europe, have worldwide application. So to introduce the Learn project's aim, it's leveraging education to advance road safety now. And the two specific aims are to improve the quality and provision of traffic safety and mobility education. And this we do through the publication of reports that contain recommendations, guidance, and inspirational best practice examples. And in the remainder of this presentation, I'll be discussing the highlights of those publications. And then the second aim is to enhance the community of road safety education experts. And again, I'm very happy that today we're doing that at a global level to learn from across the world about how road safety implementation, what type of projects are implemented across the world. And thank you also from my side to Fundación MAPFRE and the ADAC Stiftung for your support for our Learn project. I'll be going through the publications that are on the screen right now, but I'll, as mentioned, will focus on the highlights, the key recommendations from each report. But if you're interested in learning more details about these reports, the slides of myself, as well as the other speakers today, as well as the recording of the seminar, will be uploaded on the Learn event page. And through this presentation, you can click on the links to go directly to, for example, at the bottom, the seminars and webinars where we have discussed these publications in much greater detail. And before I start with those publications, I'd also quickly like to thank very much the Learn Expert panel for all the input. The Learn Expert panel gathers leading experts on road safety education from across Europe, and the recommendations, guidance, and examples come from their expertise and experience in with working with road safety education in their countries, in their daily life. So thank you very much to all the Learn Expert panel members for your invaluable contributions, input, and guidance to this project. And to start then to define traffic safety and mobility education, what does the Learn project mean with this? We have defined it as covering all educational measures that aim at positively influencing traffic behavior patterns, with an emphasis on gaining knowledge and understanding of traffic rules and situations, as well as developing and improving skills through training and expertise. Also important is the strengthening and/or changing of attitudes and intrinsic motivations, all to contribute towards a safety-minded culture, as well as to provide the tools necessary for a well-informed choice of transport mode. And with this last one, we mainly aim at encouraging the modes of active transportation where it is safe to do so. For the project itself, we have the scope limited to the measures that focus on 0 to 17 years old, because most of the educational activities focus on the children and youngsters. There are two reasons why we need to talk today about improving both the quality and provision of traffic safety and mobility education. And the first reason is the global road safety situation of children and youngsters. Last year, we learned from the UNICEF report that an estimated 180,000 children and youngsters aged 0 to 19 years died on roads across the globe. And from other reports, such as, for example, the World Health Organization, we know that road injury is the leading cause of death for the age group between 5 to 29 years old. Therefore, much more needs to be done to improve road safety so that children and youngsters can safely travel on the roads across the globe. And education is one of the tools that we have to improve the road safety of kids and youngsters in line with the safe system approach to improving road safety. Another reason is the provision by the countries of road safety education. And before I go a bit more into detail, I'd like to remind that, for example, in Europe, many countries have signed up to the 1968 Vienna Convention on Road Traffic. And by doing so, they have committed themselves to take the necessary measures to ensure that road safety education is provided on a systematic and continuous basis, and in particular in schools at all levels of education. And it's here that I'd like to make a small correction, because previously we've always referred to it as the UNECE Convention on Road Traffic. But even though UNECE, the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, houses a WP1 on the Forum for Road Safety, which manages this convention, the convention itself is actually a UN convention, not a UNECE convention. And the reason I'm mentioning this in particular is because when you look at who have signed up to this Vienna Convention on Road Traffic, you can see that it has 36 signatories, 91 parties to it. So all in all, I went through the list, about 101 countries have either signed or acceded to the Vienna Convention and have thereby committed themselves to providing road safety education on a systematic and continuous basis. And these 101 countries come from all parts of the world, all continents of the world. And if you'd like to see whether or not your country has signed up to the Convention on Road Traffic and thus made this commitment, you can click on the link that is provided in this slide. And the reason why I'm highlighting this Vienna Convention is because the countries have made then this commitment to provide road safety education. But what we found in Europe, when we looked at how countries were actually providing road safety education, we found that while on primary education it was provided structurally in all schools across Europe, when it comes to other levels of education, and notably secondary education, we noticed that it was only sparsely provided. It was not structural, just a lesson here or there, and moreover more theoretical than practical. So in Europe, the commitment that most of the European states have made was not fulfilled. And there is a lot of room for improvement. And perhaps if you look at how the country you're based in is providing road safety education, and if you find that the country has also signed up to the Vienna Convention, that is a good policy hook to remind the government of the promises that they have made with regards to providing road safety education, in particularly in schools, and to take the necessary actions. Then onwards to the Learn Key Principles reports, which are 17 key recommendations to improve road safety education, and they're accompanied by best practice examples. These key recommendations are aimed at, on the one hand, national and local decision makers and policymakers, but they're also aimed at head teachers and organizations who can implement most of the key principles already directly in their schools and or organizations. And these key principles are drawn up by the Learn Expert panel. And in the context of this seminar, I'd like to provide a little bit of background on how these key principles came to be. Because the origins of the Learn Key Principles come from a discussion that we had at the very first Learn Expert panel meeting. And it was an organic discussion that was not scheduled, in which the experts discussed which challenges they were facing in their countries. And this very interesting discussion led to a follow-up survey in which we asked the experts to list the main challenges that they were facing at that moment. And the challenges were all different because there are the national characteristics of the countries. But if you look at a slightly more general level, you could see that despite these national characteristics, all the challenges could be grouped into several themes. So they were all facing at a general level the same challenges. And therefore, the Learn Key Principles were developed with recommendations to address the challenges that were faced. But in doing so, we also had our own challenges because of the national differences, in, for example, the educational systems that are different in all European countries, or the governmental structures, where, for example, road safety education is the responsibility of one ministry or the other, or the education is the responsibility of a higher level of government, or, for example, the local school level. The recommendations couldn't be too specific. We quickly noticed when drafting recommendations that as soon as we went a little bit specific, we ran into troubles of the applicability of the key principles across Europe. So we kept the key principles relatively high level to ensure the applicability across Europe, but we still needed to make sure that they were helpful. For example, we have a key principle on ensuring having the road safety education in the curriculum for schools. But by itself, it's a very good recommendation. But if somebody is reading the recommendation, they might think, but how? So from the development of the Learn key principles, we developed the Learn approach that we also applied to other publications that we've done since. So they are high-level recommendations that require adaptation and interpretation in the national context by the experts, for example, when they are communicating to schools or when they're communicating to government officials. And to make them useful, we've accompanied them with best practice examples to illustrate how the recommendations can be or have been translated in a national context. So to take again the example of the curriculum, but how we have shown in the best practice example, for example, with the Flemish situation where they have integrated road safety education in the curriculum for secondary education. And this learn approach, the learn recommendations, we feel can therefore be applied outside of the education and school setting through adaptation and reinterpretation. For example, they can be applied at youth clubs and sports clubs. For example, instead of reading teacher, you can read the youth leader or the trainer when they're doing road safety educational activities. They can also be applied to the other age groups. For example, the elderly is an interesting age group. Because also important to recognize that road safety education is not just for children, but it's a lifelong learning process. And because the learn recommendations are general at a top level, and given the interest that we have seen in the Learn project from outside of Europe, we have the feeling that they can be applied outside of Europe as well. And we'd be very interested to hear from you if you've been able to apply the principles outside of Europe, or if you have troubles interpreting them, what challenges you faced. We'd be genuinely interested to hear from you. Write an email to learn@etsc.eu to let us know, because we'd be very interested to hear about that. Then what are these 17 Learn key principles? We've grouped them into 5 groups. And the first group is about ensuring the right to receive traffic safety and mobility education. And that includes the overall key principle as well, to ensure that the children receive traffic safety and mobility education. And the other 16 key principles are all pieces of the puzzle to implement that key principle. Other key principles in this first group include, for example, incorporating traffic safety and mobility education in the curriculum for schools, ensuring that there are sufficient resources available, both with regards to financial as well as with regards to human resources, that there is sufficient time for the teachers to implement these activities, as well as to set goals from the national level all the way down to the school level and the educational objectives in the activities. Then the second group of key principles is with regards to engaging and supporting schools, to motivate schools to provide road safety education and to have a traffic safety and mobility policy in which they, on the one hand, set out the type of education on road safety that they will provide to the children in which grades and what type of lessons, but also that they look at the road safety in and around the school and during school trips. Other recommendations include the supporting the teacher so that they feel confident and capable to provide the lessons. I will quickly skip over ensuring high quality education. I'll come back to that in the next slide. To move on then to facilitating the framework conditions. These include following up to make sure that road safety education is provided, for example, via surveys or via reward schemes. And also already during the training of teachers to become a teacher, provide lessons on road safety education and how to give such education so that when they're in the classroom for the very first time, they feel comfortable and capable to provide such lessons. And of course, involve all relevant stakeholders, municipalities, parents, schools, the kids themselves, the police, and all other relevant stakeholders should be involved in road safety education. It's not just the responsibility of the schools. Then the group of key principles that I quickly skipped over. And this is the one on ensuring high quality education. And it includes recommendations such as ensuring that traffic safety and mobility education is not just about knowledge and skills, but also about attitudes and motivations. as well as training and traffic. It's important to keep traffic safety mobility education up to date, both with regards to pedagogical advancements as well as mobility trends. That quality standards are used, as well as tests and process outcome evaluations are conducted, and that pupils are assessed or let themselves assess them to make sure they have gained the desired knowledge, skills, attitudes, and motivations. And I'm highlighting these key principles in specific because it's important that high quality education is provided. Despite the best interest, we have seen projects that were poorly designed and had an adverse effect on the target group. And because there is relatively little money and time available to schools and teachers, it's important that the money and time that is spent on well-designed and evaluated projects and measures instead. And this group of key principles leads me to the Learn Manual for developing and evaluating traffic safety and mobility education activities. And this Learn Manual is a guidance manual that through 8 steps set out recommendations and guidance that should ensure that developers following it are on the right track to implementing high quality educational material. Conversely, it's also useful for authorities or schools when they're deciding on which educational material to pick or purchase, as the recommendations and the steps provide a handy checklist for them to ensure that the activities that they're looking to pick or purchase have given thought to these elements that should lead to a high quality activity. And before I set out these 8 steps, I'll quickly want to explain a little bit more what the manual is. The manual has a 2-page guidelines in part 2, in which all the key steps and the key aspects of those steps are presented in a checkbox fashion, which, if all checked, should ensure that the developer is on the right track to developing high quality material. And then each of these steps and recommendations are set out in much greater detail with additional information and additional references to more detailed publications on those specific steps in part 3, the handbook. And then in part 4, through 27 examples, we illustrate how those steps or specific aspects of those steps have been implemented in practice by the members of the expert panel, and those range from examples on small local activities to nationwide large activities. So in 1 minute, perhaps the steps of the Learn Manual. The first step is analyzing the problem that the developer wants to address with the activity, as well as the characteristics and needs of the target group. And then based on that, objectives for the activity are designed. And then with the use of theories of change that are selected in step 3, the activity can be designed in step 4. It's then important to pre-test the activity to make sure that the activity is working as intended before producing the material in step 6, and in step 7 subsequently implementing the activity. And important as well in step 8 is to evaluate the activity to make sure it's achieving what it sets out to achieve. This may look like a linear process, but in the manual you'll find that it's actually an iterative process, meaning that you have to go forth and back between the different steps, which is also indicated at those relevant steps in the manual. So for example, the results of the pre-test in step 5 may mean that you need to go back to either make changes to the designs or make changes to the objectives. And conversely, evaluating the activity is not something that should only be done at the end of the activity, but it's something that should already be thought about when defining the objective. How can those objectives be evaluated, whether they're achieved, as well as the evaluation design should be an integral part of the activities design as well. And then the last publication that I want to quickly highlight is the third Learn Flash that links education on sustainable mobility with traffic safety. In this publication, we highlight several reasons why it's important to link those two together. For example, a safe environment for people to walk and cycle is an important factor for people to decide to actually walk and cycle. And conversely, if they don't feel safe on the road, they might be more inclined to take the car instead. And more examples of this are provided in the first part of this flash. And then we've got 3 sections of recommendations that are related to this. The first of those sections looks into the education itself that is provided to the children that links sustainable mobility and traffic safety. And you'll see that many of the Learn Key principles that were mentioned previously come back here as well, but from the perspective of linking sustainable mobility and traffic safety. I've picked out for these 3 sections several recommendations that we have. So for example, high quality activities that are attractive as well as theoretical and practical. And in the case of sustainable mobility, it's perhaps interesting to look at linking it to broader topics such as the climate crisis, health, and the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, which should also help with making the material more attractive to schools and teachers alike. Another one is facilitating education on safe and sustainable mobility. As I mentioned during the key principles, it's important that sufficient resources are allocated for traffic safety and mobility education. And in this context, the experts from across Europe have noticed that if some pupils in the group do not have access to a bicycle or helmet, teachers are inclined to not provide the lesson to all the kids. So it's important that schools are enabled to offer pupils bicycles and helmets if they do not have them themselves, and where it's needed as part of that traffic safety and mobility education in order to ensure that the teachers can provide the lessons. The second group of recommendations in this report then looks at promoting active and safe travel to and around the school. So this focuses on the school and the school area. Important again that schools develop a traffic safety and mobility policy, because that should also describe how the school intends to improve the road safety or maintain the road safety level around the school. To improve the safety around the schools, with a view of encouraging active mobility, they are recommended to develop, with the involvement of the pupils and municipalities as well, safe walking and cycling routes to the school, covering a wide area around the school, as well as to request the municipality to implement 30-kilometer-an-hour zones or school streets near the schools. And with a view of encouraging parents to walk and cycle together with this kid to school, if it's safe to do so, projects and other incentives could be implemented, as well as asking parents to become a traffic parent. And then finally, the report sets out recommendations on enabling safe and sustainable transport in the city, village, around the school. And these include general road safety recommendations, for example, on strategic planning, that it's taken into account in the national strategies, the local strategies, as well as that key performance indicators are set for it, that infrastructure safety and speed is looked into by setting credible and safe speed limits, that traffic reduction and access rules are looked into to prevent heavy-duty vehicles from driving near the schools when the kids go to or from school, as well as looking into safe intersections and pedestrian crossings. And this is nearing the end of my presentation. So all the material that I've presented today can be downloaded for free at the Learn website, trafficsafetyeducation.eu, where you find publications in English, but for certain publications also in other languages. For example, the manual and this last Flash 3 are available to download in Spanish as well. You'll also find more resources there, information and presentations and videos from the previous seminars, a database that allows you to filter best practice examples in all Learn publications based, for example, on if you're looking for cycling activities or if you're looking at examples of evaluation or at activities for certain age groups, and you'll also find other publications there. And this is the end of my presentation. And we'll now move on towards the main session of today, and that is taking a tour through the world to discover educational projects from across the globe. And we'll start off with Shanna from the International Road Assessment Program, iRAP, who will present to us the project AI&Me, which is a scalable road safety education and advocacy model that was piloted in Vietnam. Hi, welcome, Shanna, and looking very much forward to your presentation.
Hello, Frank. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. Unfortunately, it's not appearing for me to share my screen. I don't know if you can share the slides for me or give me access to it.
Yes, I'll quickly look into it. Could you try again, and otherwise I'll share them from my side.
If you can share perhaps from your side, because the screen's options here, it's blank for me, so we will not make others wait. So hello again. I can see it perfectly. Thank you very much, Frank. So hello again. Thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Shanna Lucchesi. I work as project coordinator for the International Road Assessment Program. And as Frank presented, I'm here to talk a little bit about the AI&Me empowering you for safer roads. So next slide, please. So if you haven't heard about iRAP before, so we are a charity. We are based in the UK. And we have this vision that it's a world free of high-risk roads. So that's why we establish partnerships with organizations around the world to develop methodologies and tools that helps governments from the local level into the national level of identified road safety risk and propose interventions to create a better environment for all road users, all type of road users to travel. Next slide, please. Why AI&Me? So basically, we know that there is a massive young population around the world, and we see this as a big opportunity to create a new generation of road safety youth leaders that will be able to speak with their local authorities and advocate for more safer roads. Next slide, please. And as Frank presented, Vietnam had a similar case of around the world where road crashes are the third leading cause of death of youth. So it's really demanding some interventions that will make people travel, especially to school, in a safer way. Next slide, please. So about the project, we piloted this project in 3 cities in Vietnam, so Ho Chi Minh City, Pleiku City, and Nguyen Bai. The objectives of this project was looking of what is available out there in terms of emerging data sources and new technologies that could support governments in focusing more in life-saving road upgrades, but bringing the youth population to the discussions and the decision making. So what I'm going to present to you today is the results of the first phase of this project that was running from March 2021 to 2024. We are now in the second phase of the project that is even more focused on youth engagement and learning. But here to have a good start and end, I'll focus on the phase 1, which the project funders was Foundation Botnar and FIA Foundation. The lead project partner was AIP Foundation, that it's based on Vietnam. It was responsible for all of the implementations that I'm going to show you here. iRAP, in this case, was responsible for the tools development and the technology development that support the implementations of the project, together with Andiri, that it's an Australian company that was focused on the data side of the project. Next slide, please. So for that, we create this framework that you see on the screen that goes from the macro level of road safety analysis until the micro level. This framework is based on 4 main tools or 4 main methodologies. The first one is the big data screening, that it's basically looking of available big data sources that could give us some hints on how to prioritize interventions and educational efforts. So basically, it's looking for, in this project, for the city region, but can also go from the country level and see how can we narrow down the areas of analysis until we identify which is the high-risk schools in those cities that we have been working with. So this is basically the big data screening methodology. And as part of the framework, it was giving us this priority list of schools for interventions and for conducting some trainings with the students. Next slide, please. The second stage of this process is what we call the Youth Engagement App. So we developed an application that was developed with this focus of getting something that is really easy and interesting for youth to use. So that's why we developed a mobile application. Vietnam is a very digitalized community, so it was really interesting to see how easy they picked the app and start to play with and providing some information. Basically, the app has two main objectives. One was to collect road safety perceptions around the schools that we were working with. So the students had this ability of ping locations on the app, select the transport mode they usually use to travel to school, if they bike, if they walk, if they are riding a motorcycle, that is very common in Vietnam, or if they are traveling by car. Then we're going to ask how they feel traveling on those modes in that particular location, if they feel safe, unsafe, or very unsafe, and why they are feeling that way. So we selected a couple of key attributes as well for them to report their perceptions, for example, for walking in terms of the sidewalk quality, the crossing quality, if there was lighting, or if the vehicles were traveling very fast. And they could also add comments and add pictures to give us a little bit more information. The app will also include a section that we call Road Safety Knowledge page. So there are some safety tips in there for them to understand what is, for example, a safe crossing, what is a good quality sidewalk. So all of the idea of the app, it was in a way getting a digital tool that will provide the data that we required for the next steps of the project, but also put them in contact and put them to reflect on what is road safety, what is a safer road, how can we perhaps improve from the situations that they are very common with, that crossing, for example, that they cross every day to the schools. How can we make that situation a little bit better? So the app was giving this information to them. The app is available online now for anyone that wants to use, so you can use the QR code to access in the Google Play or the App Store. And the third then tool that we are using as part of this project is the iRAP star rating for schools. So basically, in the schools that were selected as the top risk schools by using the big data screening, we run some workshops with students in there for them to provide some information on the locations that they feel unsafe. And in those locations, we go in with a road safety assessor in more details and identify really what is going on and which is the best way of improving the situation. So the star rating for schools tool is based on, is an evidence-based tool that is looking for road safety risk for some particular elements of the infrastructure, and then proposing interventions and implementation. So you can also use the QR codes to scan and download the star rating for schools application. Next slide, please. So for all of this, we are focusing on project engagement in two main stakeholders, so young people and also the local governments. So we have trained almost 2,000 students in this project to use the tools and to share their safety perception on their way to schools. We also have a lot of communications in terms of peer-to-peer awareness raising. So there was some videos prepared with rap singers and to make them aware of the issues and use the tools. And we also give them the opportunity to share their perceptions and their ideas with local authorities in some workshops. Next slide, please. How we approach the government with changes. So basically we were understanding and meeting the needs of the government. So there was a lot of discussions also on how they could really integrate the youth feedback into their policies. There was a lot of discussions on if they could consider the feedback that youth provided as a true feedback. But you will see later on that we made some analysis that presented this for them. There was a lot of events in terms of government engagement and capacity building, only for the road safety perspective, but also from how to really create this framework of decision making that include the students in this process. There was some study visits and pilot implementations of safe school zones models for replication. Because I think it happens with the students, but it happens with the local authorities as well, that they are used to build things in a certain ways. So we create these site visits for them to see how different implementations, different solutions for the issues that they had in the 3 cities. And then again, as part of this framework, making the local authorities aware of the youth feedback and utilize the data collected with the Youth Engagement app, not only as part of this project, but beyond in other initiatives as well. Next slide, please. So some of the key achievements. So we have a target at the beginning of the project that the students will report 3 to 5 locations around their schools. At the end, we had almost 10 locations in average per student. So in total, we have around 19 locations pinned in the schools that were part of the project. And we conduct a pre and post intervention survey to demonstrate the increase of the knowledge, the student knowledge overall in road safety. So in the pre-survey, we have 55.8% of a certain level of knowledge that we consider adequate for the project, and this increased to 82%. In terms of student attitudes of road safety, that was how they positioned themselves as youth leaders in this process. We have 42% at the beginning of the project and 58% at the end. And from students' safety behavior, we see an increase from 39% to 57%. So it was an incredible results in terms of how they can really take all of this content and all of these opportunities, internalize it and make it, and we can really see a change after all of this process. In total, we have 9 million people reached for all of the regions and the school communities that were part of this process. Next slide, please. So as I was saying before, from the base on the big data screening analysis, we ended with 106 priority schools. In fact, we have a priority list of schools for all of the 3 cities, but we decided to focus in these 106. So from a total of 1,063 schools in the 3 target cities, out of these 106 high-risk schools, 98 of the schools was ranked as 1 or 2 stars, what is a very low level of safety. So it's a very high risk. Us at iRAP, we really advocate for 3 stars or better for road infrastructure in terms of road safety. For the schools, our target is really reach 5 stars. It means that it could be as safe as possible for people to reach their schools. So in this 106, 98 of them was rated as 1 or 2, so really, really bad. What we did then in the next slide was work with the local authorities and some donors involved in the project to propose some interventions of those schools. So AI&Me and other donors from this project improved 9 schools where local governments developed and implemented upgrades in 89 modifications of 13 other schools. And this is a continuous process. So this was what was developed as part of the project, but with the knowledge of what the rank is and what to do it, this program continues beyond the project. And next slide, please. At the end, in terms of learnings as well, we also developed what we call a citizen portal. So basically all of the data collected as part of the project was put it into a data dashboard that was embedded in provincial government websites. So this means that this data is now available for the entire community of these 3 cities. So not only the local authorities, not only the schools communities, but anyone that wants to know the situation around their locations, and have a little bit more access on the star rating results, but also the youth engagement app results. So it's all consolidated into one data dashboard. That again was a really big win for us, that this data dashboard is part of the official government website, what makes much more accessible for the entire community. It's only in Vietnamese, but you can access through the QR code as well if you want to have a look. Next slide, please. And just closing with some key lessons learned from this project. I think there was a great government buy-in, allowed the project to directly influence road safety decision-making. This is not an easy process. There was a lot of discussions and meetings and involvement from AIP Foundation, that it's the lead partner of this project, but who is in Vietnam and have this contact with the government. So it demands a big effort on presenting the process, especially because there are new tools involved. So we need to really gain the trust of the government of what we are producing and doing is really evidence-based and have some benefits associated to it. But at the end, there was a really important buy-in of the government that was make these developments at the end and the school modifications possible at the end of this project. The second lessons learned, it was great to have these public-private partnerships involving multiple partners in this project. So it's not something that you can do on your own, and really building the community of road safety to really provide these strong and successful methods that are not only working in one way, but it's kind of in a holistic way, taking educational and taking engagement as together with the evidence base to really create a way of solving problems that are connected with the demands of the communities on those locations. And then I really always like to say this because it was something quite interesting for us in this project, that there was a lot of discussions on what the information that the students were providing was true or not. Here we are talking about perceptions of safety. So there is no right or wrong. Perceptions do not need any validations. What we are trying to do as this project is looking for the collective perspective of the environment, the collective perceptions. So if we have in the app 20 students reporting that some particular intersection is really dangerous for crossing, we cannot ignore that, right? So it's this collective group of inputs that is really putting the strength and the power of youth into the decision-making process, and government cannot really ignore that because it's showing in the data that there is something wrong. A lot of students are saying that it's something wrong, so they really need to act and do something about it. Next slide, please. So I think that's all from my side. It was a really quick overview of a three years project. I'm happy to take any questions. We have a report that you can also access through the QR code that describe in a lot of details all of this process, all of the methodologies, and the results that we get. But I hope this will at least give you some insights and some ideas of how to replicate this kind of projects in your communities as well. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I'm happy to take questions if you have any.
Thank you very much, Shanna, for this very interesting presentation. It's really interesting to see how you engage the kids to identify the problems in the neighborhood and make eventually their lives safer. We have a couple minutes for some questions, and I'd like to highlight to the audience that by using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, you can submit questions to the presenters, and please feel free to already submit them during the presentation, and then we will take them during the short Q&A session that we have. Shanna, I've got two questions for you that came in. Firstly, Jesus asked whether it's possible to know the budget of the project that you just presented.
Yeah, I think this information is publicly available. I need to check with the lead partner, but please bear in mind that basically the budget was not only for implementation of the project, but for the tool development, the engagement. So there was a lot of processes involved. Now that the tools are already available, the framework is already available, and although it was developed and piloted in Vietnam, we did it in a way that could be used globally as well. So in case you want to use the youth engagement app, for example, it's already available in Portuguese, Spanish, English, Indonesian, Vietnamese, and in Thai, I think, and French. So it's already available in a lot of local language. So all of the development costs of this type of tools, it's already done. If I'm not mistaken, from the top of my head, it was around 400,000 euros project for all of the pilot development in the 3 cities. But again, I think this cost is not necessary anymore because the framework is developed, it's pilot, it's just basically replicate into a different context with a couple of small adaptations. But I think this is more or less what was the budget for this particular project.
Okay, thank you. And then we have a second question that came in that is with regards to the evaluation for the students. What did you ask them in relation to the changed behavior?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm more than happy to share the form. In case you want to have more information, just send me an email and we can share the form that we use with the students. Basically, in relation to change of behavior, we were asking for some like revealed behavior, so how they behave in the past or in some situations. And then we compare the responses in the before and the after scenario. So it's more on the revealed type of behavior questions.
Okay.
And in relation to the knowledge, right? I think there is some question about this. So we prepared some key questions on, for example, what is characteristics of a safe crossing or in this kind of things. And we see how their responses changed in the before and after. So the knowledge one was more like road safety focus. While the behavior one was more on how they behave in certain situations. But again, send me an email and I'm more than happy to share the form that we use in the before and after analysis in the project.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe your email was on the last slide of the presentation. So it will be uploaded after the seminar, and then people who wish to know more details can contact you via that email address. Thank you once again very much, Shanna, for your presentation. And then we now move from Asia to Europe, and we welcome Melanie. Hi, Melanie.
Hi.
You're going to tell us more about what work you do in Germany as the ADAC Stiftung.
Yes, I'll just start right away. So hi everyone, my name is Melanie. I'm very happy to be here. And yeah, I will tell you more about our foundation, the ADAC Stiftung, and also the mobility education in Germany. So first about us, the ADAC Stiftung. So we're a foundation, and our approach is empowering people and systems for a safer and more sustainable future. So we try to create social impact through mobility and life-saving solutions. These are all two areas of activities. So mobility, we try to establish safe and sustainable mobility for everyone. And life-saving, we support the system for fast and effective assistance in medical emergencies. Since today's topic is traffic education, I'll tell you more about the mobility education in Germany and also what we do at ADAC Stiftung. So first, I'll show you some numbers on child road safety in Germany. So every 19 minutes in 2024, a child was injured or killed in German road traffic. So in total, we had more than 20,000 children under 15 years injured and 53 of them killed in road traffic 2024. It is still a lot. If you can have a closer look at the graph on the right side, you see that we, like since 2010, remained on kind of like the same level. You can see the clearly decrease due to COVID, but unfortunately, we're kind of back on the same level as the last years. We don't have any confirmed numbers of 2025 yet, but I assume them to be quite similar, to be honest. And if we have a bit of closer look within the age groups, so we can see the children under 6 years, 35% of them are involved in road accidents while being in the car with their parents, or being on a bicycle, or even walking. Children from 6 to 14 years, this is when in Germany school starts. So German school, elementary school starts at 6, and the secondary school starts around 10, 11 years. So just for you to know. So when children begin going to school from 6 years on, you can see that 30% of them, so the most of them are involved in accidents during their way to school. So it's in the morning, 7 to 8 a.m., and also accidents during the time they go back home. So just for you to have some numbers, I will tell you a bit more about our education system in Germany. So please first look at the map of Germany. You can see a lot of colors. The colors mean or show you that Germany is a federal organized country. We have 16 different states, and education is a responsibility of each individual state. So this means that each state regulates its own schools and universities. And this is also resulting in different curricula. So every syllabi, school types, graduation requirements vary sometimes between the states. So we do try to have common grounds, common understanding. So therefore we have a board. This is called the Standing Conference of the Ministers of Education and Cultural Affairs. In German, we call it the Kultusministerkonferenz, abbreviated with KMK. They have recommendations about the education in Germany, different measures such as the A-levels, teacher trainings, etc. But it's important to say that these recommendations are just that, so they are not legally binding. So every state has to decide by themselves if they adapt the recommendations to their own syllabi, or how do they adapt it with topics. So it's quite variable and a lot of diversity within the German education system. So now let's have a closer look at the mobility education in Germany. So of course, I told you about the different states that we have and other different syllabi that we have, but of course we try to have a common understanding of traffic safety and mobility education. And for the following, I will just abbreviate traffic safety and mobility education with TSAME. It's shorter and it's easier to talk about. So TSAME is a comprehensive educational task for all stakeholders in school community in Germany. So meaning preschool and school and teachers and also the municipalities. There is a recommendation from the KMK, so the ministers. The latest document is from 2012. It's been a couple years, but yeah. So this is a framework for orientation. Again, it's not legally binding, but this document or framework provides the ministries and the education administrations with guidance on how to promote road safety and sustainable mobility within the education system. So for example, we have principles for each age group, so for preschool, for elementary school, for secondary schools, on the competencies that the children have to learn on different topics, also which partners to work with, and also suggestions on how to integrate these topics into lessons. And again, talking about implementation, I told you that each federal state decides on their own. So we have a great variety of status quo, to be honest. So it really varies between which contents, which topics with methods are going into the curricula and how they are lived in practice. So this will be the next thing I will show you. So from theory to practice, what does it really look like in Germany? So we have school communities, and I will just share like the most common and standard topic across Germany. So we start with pedestrian training in preschool, and it will also be continued in elementary school with the first graders. So the first graders start going to school by themselves or with their parents. We still have a lot of pedestrian training there. Then going on to grade 4, it's around like 9 to 10 years, we have the cycling trainings across Germany. So every child is receiving cycling training. There's a cycling assessment. Also some cycling certificate in each state for the children. So this is a big part of elementary school. When we continue further to secondary school, so starting 10, 11 years, topics change. So we do more about intoxicants, so alcohol and drugs, and also driving, because we start driving around the driving license for motorcycles, for cars. So these are the most topics for the secondary schools. Of course, there are some challenges during the everyday life. And we have a shortage of skilled personnel. So meaning teachers, educators, pedagogical personnel, I think, well, I'm curious to know if it's the same in your countries. And also TSAME is just one of many, many tasks that the school have to do. So we also have health and nutrition, democracy. We have well-being right now, also inclusion. So there's a lot of other things the school have to do besides the regular curricula. And we just see that TSAME is just one of so many tasks. And a third challenge, TSAME in Germany plays a bigger role in elementary school. So we see that in elementary school, there's a lot of more activities, a lot more projects and education, and it gets less attention in secondary school. Although, to be honest, if you look at the statistics and the numbers, it would be more important to do more project in secondary school because the children are going on like by themselves independently to school, riding the bike, you are getting a driver's license. So it would be more important to do more in secondary school. But that's just the way it is. And on the other hand, we have the external organizations. So this is also where we come in as ADAC Stiftung. The external organizations have an important part in the German education systems. So we provide material for the schools. We do a lot of teaching. We create teaching material. We are also offering teaching for the training for the teachers. So of course, it's police. We have a big organization called Deutsche Verkehrswacht. Of course, us at the ADAC Stiftung. Our challenges are slightly different to the ones for the school community. So for us, the heterogeneity of the whole section of TSAME in Germany is sometimes a challenge because it's very complex. So we have a lot of institutions, larger ones, smaller ones, some operating on a regional level, some operating on a nationwide level. So many projects, many activities for schools, and then there's no central coordination or network. There's a lot of missing transparency, what is done with the schools and what new projects are coming up. And also, in addition to that, each institution is independent. So we have no or barely any relations to the ministries or the education systems. So every, of course, institutions also have their own agenda, also own strategy. So meaning which project will be financed, which topic of TSAME will they do, where are they operating? It's very diverse. So I just wanted to tell you quickly about the system so that you see we have a great diversity here, which is very valuable because there's a lot of also opportunities around it, but it can also result in a lot of overlaps and gaps and coordination problems. But this is the area that we are operating in. So I'm finally gonna talk about us and what we're doing about mobility education. So we're one of the biggest institutions in Germany when it comes to TSAME. We had over 15,000 trainings last year and more than 519,000 participating children. Our goal is that children learn safe and considerate behavior in road traffic and develop an awareness of sustainable mobility options. And how do we work and what do we do? So we believe that mobility education is a shared societal responsibility. So we start early. Our programs begin in preschool because we believe mobility competence develops early. It is important for us that children experience instead of just explaining things. So we focus on practical exercises in safe environments, also include a lot of games, movement to motivate them. We include everyone in our projects. So when we think about new projects, we always actively involve the parents, teachers, educators in the materials and training, and also we seek dialogue a lot. So we talk a lot to teachers and educators just to know what is on their minds, what are they thinking about, what do they need, so what is the demand, and where can we really make an impact and a change. Also working on the bigger picture. So our educational programs combine safety, health, and sustainability. So in Germany, we often see that the focus lies on the traffic safety aspect within traffic safety and mobility education, which is totally good and important, but we try to see like the bigger picture and also include health and sustainability and climate change in our projects. Improving structures, so we contribute our expertise to different networks. I mean, such as this one, the Learn project in the expert panel. We talk to researchers in Germany, also politics, because we just want to make a change, also not just with like the operating side, but also in the structure. And last but not least, we have this saying in Germany, do good and talk about it. And so communicating about the good things that we do and raising awareness of TSA&Me with campaigns, with storytelling, with social media is also a very important part for our work. So that just the society knows that TSA&Me is an important topic. It is one of many important ones. But I mean, we saw all the numbers and statistics from children being involved in road traffic accidents. So I think it is very important to just always again and again remind about this importance. So all in all, we see ourselves as an organization that wants to just drive the TSA&Me forward, make a change, improve structures, and have a lasting and long-term effect for the safety of our children. So to show you some projects, what do we do? So apart from our strategic role, we also have operational activities. We have 3 big nationwide programs, starting with Aufgepasst mit ADAC. This for the youngest ones, so age 5 to 7, which is preschool and elementary school, the first graders. We here lay the foundation for safe and conscious mobility behavior, except for, and the focus is pedestrian training. So you see the picture, it's about traffic lights, zebra crossings. Second project is Roller Fit, age 7 to 8. So this is grade 2 to 3 in Germany. This one is a scooter training for teachers. So we train teachers to encourage movement and the building mobility skills with the scooter for the kids, because riding the scooter is a perfect preparation for safe cycling later on. Achtung Auto is our third program, and we are here age group 10 to 12. This is beginning of secondary schools, so grade 5 and 6 in Germany. Here we empower independent mobility and to also try to foster awareness of one's impact on people and the planet. So we start including sustainability and climate change here. The program is also about speed, braking distance, responsiveness, also distraction in traffic. These are our 3 big programs. We are very proud and happy to do these. And I don't want to talk like what do we do and what is good. I also want to show you our challenges, to be honest. So what are we currently working on? Our 3 biggest challenges are like firstly, the strengthening the role of sustainability within mobility education. So we want to do this in our own programs, but also on a national level. I told you before, we see a big focus on the traffic safety aspect, but for us, it's also important to see that health, sustainability, and climate change are also part of mobility education, and we want to just strengthen that. Second, scaling programs despite the federal structure. So we want to consider all the different requirements, and we do this by working with multiple partners. So we work with ministries, with health insurances, just to reach our common goal, make children safe in the road traffic. We're a foundation, so we want to do good in the world, reach as many children as possible. So we try to work with partners and of course always make the programs bigger and just to reach more children. And thirdly, consistent quality standards for mobility education regarding content and topics, competences, educational material, evaluation, assessment, training. And these standards should be used by all stakeholders in the school community, as well as external organizations. So I told you before, the federal system and also the diversity of the external organizations definitely have their advantages. There's a lot of different projects. We have a different degree also of implementation of TSA&Me, which can be great. But of course, it would be easier for us as an external if we just have the same understanding for what is mobility education. Also, coming back to the first topic, from the new topic, sustainability, health, and climate change. So we try to reach a consistent quality standard over there. And yeah, so I think I have a lot of more to tell you, but I think my time is up. So I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for your attention. Looking forward for any questions or thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melanie. That was a very interesting presentation. Thank you for not only sharing what you do in Germany, but also to tell us how it actually looks like in practice and the challenges that you're facing as well with implementing traffic safety mobility education in Germany. And just as a quick note, for those who are interested in the Roller Fit project, as well as the Achtung Auto project, on the Learn website, the seminars of 2023 and 2024, you'll find presentations that go into those two projects in particular. I'll have a quick look at the Q&A section. I don't see any questions that have come in, so I suspect it was all very clear.
Hopefully.
Okay, actually, there is one question that came in right now. The question is, did I understand that the third stage targets 10 and 11-year-olds? Are all older kids also targeted?
So right now we don't have an educational program for older kids, but nevertheless, we of course always remain in the discussions. We always think about what do these children need, what topics. So we talk about them with other partners, and they do, of course, for example, projects. We develop a project with a lot of partners. It's called eMove, so for scooters, but for the e-scooters. So we do start doing this project. We don't have one on our own yet, but we're on the way to also do something for this age group.
Okay, so more to look forward to in the future.
Yes.
Okay. That's great. Thank you very much, Melanie. Once again for your presentation, and then we'll move now to Kai from Ament. Hi, Kai, welcome. You'll tell us more about Safe Schools Africa and safe walking for kids to school.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Frank. My name is Ayikai Poswayo. I work for Amend. We're a road safety NGO. We can go to the next slide. We are an organization which works across sub-Saharan Africa with a goal of delivering safe and healthy journeys and improved environments in developing countries. We have offices in Ghana, Tanzania, and Mozambique. So a number of presenters have spoken about statistics. So we know the road traffic injury situation across the world. We can go to the next slide. And Africa has one of the highest road traffic injury rates in the world. Road traffic injury is the leading cause of death among 5 and 29-year-olds. So really there needs to be a lot of attention on this issue. I know this seminar is looking specifically about road safety education, but in the context we work in Africa, there's a lot which needs to be done before we can even focus more attention on road traffic injury, on road safety education. So we can go to the next slide. A few years ago, we conducted some surveys across 4 major cities on the continent, and we found that the vast majority of children attending public primary schools are walking to school, and this is very positive. We want to encourage this. We want to ensure that those walking do not then shift to less the sustainable modes, but we need to make sure that they can do this safely. We also conducted a scientific study in Dar es Salaam, a population-based scientific study, and we found that 62% of all road traffic injuries amongst children was on a journey either going to school or returning from school. And 85% of those injured were pedestrians. So, I mean, this is, it points to the fact that we really need to be focusing on this journey to school and seeing how we can ensure that children can get to school safely. A very important thing which is coming out of the research we're doing is that a lot of these children are being hit by motorcycles. So motorcycle taxis are a huge thing, especially in East and West Africa. And 50% of all the child pedestrians injured in Dar es Salaam reported being hit by a motorcycle. Next slide, please. So that's really how the Safe Schools Africa program was born. We see photos here of children's journeys to school. So not in very safe environments. The infrastructure is not typically built for walking. And this is something which we are seeking to change through the Safe Schools Africa program. Next slide. Next slide. So the history of Safe Schools Africa really began with road safety education. AMEND is more than 20 years old, and one of our very first programs was really focused on offering road safety education to children in schools. But it became clear very quickly that we need to do much more than that we need to make sure that the infrastructure is safe enough for children to use to walk to school. And so Safe Schools Africa has evolved over the years. Next slide. And at the moment, we have this partnership, which is made up of AMEND as the implementing partner, with FIA Foundation and AFD as the funding partners for this program. And the program has three main components, as shown in the next slide. The components are demonstration projects where we implement safe infrastructure around schools where children have reported road traffic injuries. The second component is where we give input for new roads which are being built on the continent to ensure that safe infrastructure for children is considered on these roads. And then the third component is capacity building for the people who are building and designing these roads. There's an advocacy piece which runs through all of this. And as I mentioned before, of course, there's the road safety education aspect as well. Next slide. I mentioned some studies which were conducted. So a study we conducted in Dar es Salaam revealed that there was a 26% reduction in road traffic injuries among school children when we implemented our infrastructure around schools. And as we know, the two main principles we are working towards is separating children from traffic and reducing speeds where child pedestrians and traffic do need to interact, such as at a crossing point. A lot of you may have seen the graph on the right. I know we can only see part of it, but it basically shows how beyond 30 kilometers per hour, the risk of pedestrian death increases exponentially in the event of a crash. So really, we are aiming for 30 kilometer per hour speed limits around schools, which I'm sure we are all aware of. Next slide, please. So these are just some images of some schools which have received safe infrastructure. This one is from Côte d'Ivoire. The next slide shows a school in Tanzania. And on the next slide, we also see some images from another school in Tanzania. And we see how, we're not only thinking about ensuring that children are safe, but also that there's accessibility for persons with disabilities as well. So this was outside one school where there were a number of children with some physical disabilities, so ensuring step-free access and the like. Next slide. As after we have implemented infrastructure improvements at schools, we usually have ribbon cutting events, which really serve as a focal point for the community and other stakeholders to really raise awareness of the need for safe infrastructure for children, and also to advocate for policies which promotes safe walking and cycling for children and other vulnerable road users. Next slide. Video is from Kenya, just showing what we did there at a school. Next slide. The beautiful thing about these ribbon cutting events is that the children are then also able to showcase some of the road safety education lessons they've learned, and also, you know, be artistic. Some come up with skits and come up with dances and songs to really just show what they've learned with respect to road safety education. Now, a few years ago, after doing our demonstration projects for a while, we became aware that as new roads are being built across the continent, we are finding that, you know, more children are becoming at risk of road traffic injury, and safe infrastructure is not incorporated as part of these roads. So this aspect, the other components of Safe Schools Africa, where we work with project teams, was then born. And we really see how, you know, by working with a project team building one road, this is one road in Mozambique, 67 kilometers, there were 43 schools. There were 43 schools along this road and 76,000 school children. So we really see how we can really reach more school children if we are working on these roads projects. Next slide, please. So we can come in on a roads project at any stage, you know, at the feasibility study stage, preliminary design stage, detailed design, construction, and post-construction. But really the stage where we can have the most effect on road safety is at the feasibility stage, where, you know, any plans for road safety can really be embedded as part of the project, and budgets can be allocated. Road safety awareness campaigns and education can also be planned for right from the beginning, and budgets allocated. Next slide, please. So the Safe Schools Africa stages it's an 11-stage process. The first stage is when we first identify the projects, then we go out to visit the sites to map out the schools. We present that to the project team. We go back and conduct more detailed assessments within the school, speaking to the children, the parents, the communities. We also collect a lot of data out on the streets where the children are walking, to understand where they're crossing the road, what the speeds are at those points, etc. And we present all these to the project team and give recommendations on what they could include as part of the road project. And the very final stage, which unfortunately is covered, is road safety education and awareness, where once the safe infrastructure has gone in place, then we offer tailored road safety education and awareness based on the infrastructure which has been implemented and based on the reality on the ground. So an example of one thing which is really becoming an important aspect of our road safety education is related to this rise in motorcycle taxis and how, you know, children need to really be aware of these motorcycle taxis who unfortunately are, you know, overtaking other vehicles who have stopped at pedestrian crossings for children to cross. And, you know, children are getting hit that way. And I should also add that we also have a motorcycle rider training program, which we also complement all these efforts with. Next slide, please. So these are just some images from some of our work. This is a mapping of schools on one project in Ghana. Next slide. We see a summary of some of the schools which were identified and what some of the existing road safety concerns were. Next slide. We see images here of our engagements within the school, speaking to the children to understand where the risks are and the challenges they face, speaking to teachers and other community members, parents, to understand also what the challenges of their wards are. Next slide. And then these are images from the work we do on street, where we do pedestrian counts, speed counts, and the like. Next slide. These are images from some of our engagements with the road project teams, basically presenting the findings from our surveys and engagements with the schools and helping them understand where children are traveling from, where they're crossing the roads, etc. Next slide. We see here some of the recommendations which we give, and sometimes the recommendations may not be obviously something you would think is road safety related. So at one school, we realized that a lot of children were crossing the road to fetch water during the school day to bring back into the school because there was no water supply to that school. So one of the recommendations was, as part of the road project, to actually consider implementing a water supply within the school to, you know, prevent this crossing of the road unnecessarily. Next slide. These are some of the other recommendations of some of the infrastructure which we recommend outside the schools, implementing a safe school zone. And we hope we can get to the point where we are also implementing things like school streets, where, you know, there are no vehicles actually operating in front of the school at all. And I was very interested to read the third Learn Flash report, where it was referring to some of these recommendations. Next slide. This is our engagement with project teams. Next slide. We've also started using drones to collect data and a software called Good Vision, which helps analyze the footage which is obtained from drones, because it really helps give an aerial view, which is shown on the next slide, of what is happening outside a school and where pedestrians are crossing. If you go to the next slide, we can see it in the trajectories which are obtained from this drone footage. So we see that the yellow shows the pedestrian movements and the green are the vehicle movements. And this is a school in Mozambique. Next slide. These are some of the countries where we've worked, both for our working with project teams, but also our demonstration projects. Next slide. This is the list of our current ongoing projects which is benefiting from Safe Schools Africa assistance. They're all road projects happening across the continent. And some of the results we're seeing from this is that budgets are being allocated to these projects for safe infrastructure for children, where they previously weren't set budgets specifically for that. So that's one of the positive outcomes. Next slide. The next slide just shows some of our capacity building with project teams. And the capacity building is not capacity building which occurs only in a meeting room. We actually go out with the teams to the field to speak to the children, so project teams can get a first-hand account of what the challenges are. Next slide. And I know that this is something which maybe is done routinely in many countries around the world, but unfortunately we are at the situation in sub-Saharan Africa where it's not done. And so we are very happy to be involved in trying to get that embedded as part of projects. This is the team which is working out in the field every day on the left and on the right, trying to advocate for safer infrastructure for school children across the roads of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Guy. It was really interesting seeing all the impressive work that you're doing in Africa, creating safe school environments that then also allows, as I understood from you, for the education to be provided there. We received one question from Jesus, and before I say that, just my apologies for the technical hiccups that we had. I think most of the information, however, was all not hidden behind the black box. But Jesus asked, he said, I understood that you moved from education to infrastructure improvements with 30% injury reduction with these infrastructure improvements. His question is, but does it mean that we do not need education and that those infrastructure improvements are enough? Learn acknowledges the role of infrastructure, but also education. What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, so I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. We didn't move away from education, but we actually included infrastructure as a very important component just because of the setting where we are working. So we still do the education, and the road safety education is actually tailored also to the specific conditions where we are working, as I indicated with motorcycle riders and the like. But yes, no, I do believe education continues to be important, but we need to make sure we have the foundation of safe infrastructure there to ensure that the education can be effective.
Okay, thanks very much for that. And Kees is happy to hear we're all aligned, and he wanted to reconfirm. So I have a quick look. I don't see any questions in. So Guy, thank you very much for this presentation on showing us the Safe Schools Africa project. And then we'll move now from Africa to South America, where we have Paulo from the Brazilian National Observatory, who will present to us their Observatorio Educa, integrating traffic education into the school curriculum in Brazil. Paulo, the floor is yours.
Hello, Frank. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see the slides and we can hear you clearly.
Thank you. So, hello, everyone. First, sorry for I don't speak English very well, but thank you, Frank and ETSC, for the invitation to present the Educa program, which integrates traffic education into school curriculum. I am Paulo Guimarães, CEO of the National Road Safety Observatorio of Brazil, an NGO that has been working for 15 years to reduce traffic deaths. We are members of the United Nations Economic and Social Council
and the Global Alliance of NGOs. With independence and autonomy, we use research and science to generate social impact and influence public policies. Our organization has over 1,000 members, including volunteers, companies, and other entities, and our governance is provided by business councils, experts committees, and specialized teams. Our projects are aligned with global road safety initiatives and follow the guidelines of Brazil's National Road Safety Plan. We work to reduce accidents and save lives by developing programs and projects to support public authorities and companies. In our view, education is a fundamental to changing the culture of road safety. Road accidents represent a serious public health problem worldwide. Traffic violence kills about 1.2 million people every year. In Brazil, 37,000 people die in traffic accidents each year. Most of the victims are vulnerable, such as pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists. The number of deaths among children and the elderly is increasing. Here in Brazil, one person dies in traffic every 15 minutes, and every minute someone becomes permanently disabled. Among children aged 5 to 14, traffic accidents are the first cause of death here in Brazil. That's why the world has a plan to reduce the number of victims of traffic accidents. This plan based on safe systems so that human life is the priority. Among the risk factors, we see improvements in road and vehicle safety, but the human factor is the most difficult to address because it involves risk perception and good decision-making, in addition to knowledge. Our brain is complex and our emotions influence our behavior in traffic. Learning is a continuous process that begins from the start of life. Therefore, we understand that traffic education is an ongoing process that spans 3 stages of a person's life. The first stage takes place during the early years of life, where ethical and civic profiles are formed. At this age, we use the topic of traffic as a cross-curricular theme. Here we don't talk specifically about traffic, but about sharing public space, living in community, respecting rules, and understanding that every action has a consequence. This translates into life and the future behavior on the road. In the second stage, we have the information phase, which involves teenagers and young drivers receiving technical knowledge and skills about traffic. This is the stage in which people gain autonomy to live and move around. They also begin to have legal responsibilities. Here, a good driving training process is essential. The final stage involves ongoing campaigns, like the Yellow May movement, an action to alert society to this serious problem. This movement united public authorities, civil society, and the private sector to promote a culture of peace on the roads. Present in more than 30 countries and involving thousands of volunteers, Yellow May has been recognized as the largest social mobilization for road safety. To improve civic responsibility in traffic, the Educa program was created by the Observatorio and supported by the Brazilian Minister of Education and the Minister of Transport. It is a free program that offers methodology, tools, and materials for elementary education. It integrates the topic of trafficking with areas of knowledge such as humanities, language, and exact science, with exercises and activities relating knowledge to real life. The program has three pillars: communication, teacher training, and monitoring and evaluation. The book collection covers all 9 school years. It includes students' books, teacher books, and a supporting theoretical framework. The program includes a digital platform to support teachers and QR codes for supplementary contents. The program offers a method for evaluation and practice for students, families, schools, and society. The focus is on behavior change and prevention. The pilot program covered 83 cities and over 600 schools. It involves more than 5,000 volunteers, educators, and served 300,000 students. The entire program is available free of charge. For more information, please visit our website. Thank you, and sorry for my English.
Thank you very much, Paulo. It was all very clear and well understood. Thank you very much for introducing us to the integration of traffic safety education in your school curriculum in Brazil. And I think looking at the questions, we have none that came in. So thank you very much once again. And we now move from South America to North America to Dr. Michel Hirsh, who will tell us more. Good morning to you. Thank you very much for waking up very early. He will tell us more about the Safety Quest, the mobile classroom experience in Massachusetts, US.
Thanks very much, Frank. And just wanted to say, I think the presentations have been really informative and interesting, and very honored to be part of this webinar today. My name is Michael Hirsh. I'm a pediatric surgeon specializing in injury and injury prevention, and I formed a franchise of the Injury-Free Coalition for Kids, which is a national network of injury prevention sites around the country. There are 46 of us in the United States. It was founded by Dr. Barbara Barlow, who I think some of you may know is one of the international advocates for injury prevention. So, Frank, if you could start my slides, that would be great. So, sometimes you just get lucky. You can see my team here, Asia Simpson and Dominic Dunbar. They're just wonderful people to work with. And for 10 years, we had a vehicle going around central Massachusetts and some in western Massachusetts called Mobile Safety Street. I think that MAPFRE, which is a very, very wonderful partner, and thank you so much, Jesus, for encouraging us to present today. They wanted to look into how they could help us because Mobile Safety Street had run aground because of weather damage that it sustained in the winter of 2019. So we wanted to build a mobile unit because what we had learned with the other mobile unit was that bringing the mountain to Mohammed was a better way of educating the kids. If we could integrate our curriculum of safety education into the schools by bringing it directly to the schools, we got much better compliance. And we studied this in the previous iteration of the mobile unit and found that the retention of information was much better. But times had changed, and kids seem to really embrace virtual reality as a way of learning. They love the whole computerized kind of way of getting this education. So with the generosity of MAPFRE as a partner and UMass Memorial as another partner, that's the hospital that I serve in Worcester, Massachusetts. We were able to construct this beautiful recreational vehicle that was outfitted with 4 learning stations. If you go to the next slide, Frank, thank you. So as everyone has talked about, the United States is no different than what we've been hearing. These unintentional injuries are the leading cause of death in children. And it seems that the youngest age group in the United States, from age 2 to 14, are experiencing problems that we think are eminently preventable with the right kind of education. There are school systems that have their own curriculum on this, but it's a passive kind of a classroom situation where none of the education is kind of hands-on enough or real enough to make the students necessarily embrace it. So I think that what we decided to do was to put this in a virtual reality format, and that's what Safety Quest does. If you hit the next slide. So Fundación MAPFRE helped us secure wonderful programmers and virtual reality experts, and working with our team to try to figure out what topics were most relevant, and also with the Worcester and Central Massachusetts educational community to see what topics they insist on covering as part of their curriculum. We developed this program for 5th graders. 5th grade is an important year for our students in America because it's really the first year that they can very frequently walk or scooter or bike themselves to school. And they're also very frequently caretakers for younger siblings. So we thought this was a very important year for us to concentrate on. So if you hit the next slide, please, Frank. So we have 4 different sections of the education where we talk about home safety, water safety, fire safety, and street safety. And hit the next slide, please. So these are the different domains of the educational parts of the experience. So what happens is the Safety Quest vehicle arrives at a school. We've made all the arrangements in advance so that the health educators for the school will help us organize the 5th graders passing through. It generally takes between 20 and 30 minutes to complete the course. And of course, once the students are done, we track them in terms of getting a follow-up in 6 months, where we can see how much of the education they still retain. There is a pre-test that they all have before they start the course, so we can get a general idea of what their level of comprehension is on safety. So Escape Artist is all about designing a response to a fire in your house. So it talks about, obviously, smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms, but really most importantly, what the child should do in the event that they smell smoke or they know that there's a fire that started. We have a similar program about being smart on the street, whether you're a pedestrian, whether you're a bicyclist, whether you're a scooter rider. And then we kind of do this fun program where the children identify home hazards on a screen. So, there might be a pot that has its handle sticking out on the stove, where that would be where somebody would bump into it and some boiling liquid might fall, or talking about microwaves and how you can scald yourself if you allow children that are too young to take the soup or whatever they're cooking out of the stove. These hazards are really fun for the kids to recognize, and they get points if they get all of the dangers. If you hit the next slide, Frank. And then the fourth game might be the most popular. They try to do what's called charades, and I think some of you may be familiar with this game. It's kind of an international game where you kind of act out different kinds of safety hazards, and they have a tremendous time kind of trying to communicate just with a few words what they want their classmates to know. You hit the next slide, please. So, when the Safety Quest vehicle drives into town, and again, all thanks to our design partners in Boston who helped us make it colorful and elaborate. It actually has an outside screen as well. So we have like 4 stations inside the vehicle and 1 on the outside. So we can entertain the students that are lined up waiting to go in. And if you hit the next slide. And we have an accompanying activity book that the students get after they've gone through to kind of reinforce some of the education that they received. And what we're hoping to do long term, and we haven't been at this long enough to have any results to show you, is that we're going to compile the information we're getting about the scores that the students get pre-Safety Quest, during Safety Quest, and then post-Safety Quest, because we really think that we're onto something here. This is really when we drive through these different villages and towns to do the education, we get nothing but positive feedback from the health educators, and the parents of these students that have gone through it have been communicating back to us saying, "Thank you so much. My child is now like warning me about not putting on my seatbelt. My child is being very careful about crossing the street." And this is the kind of thing that we really feel is a great way to educate kids. It wasn't inexpensive, and again, thanks to MAPFRE, we're definitely grateful that they were able to allot us the money that it took to build this thing. I'm hoping that within the injury-free network, out of our 46 sites, that we will be able to convince some of the other sites to duplicate our efforts in central Massachusetts. If you hit the next slide. So we've hit a number of schools in the last 3 years. We run the program pretty much from September, when the school year starts, till somewhere in December. We take a little break in January and February because it's not like the students are outdoors when they're going through Safety Quest, but they have to wait on line a little bit outside. So we wait till March again to finish up the year, from March to June. And Dominic Dunbar, who is really the squire of this program, he not only does a lot of the education, but he drives Safety Quest, which is it's a wonderful vehicle, but I'm a little intimidated to drive this beautiful thing. I don't want to put a scrape or a scratch on it. It's so great. Hit the next one. So I want to just thank the hosts of this meeting for letting us present, and I hope that we can give you further follow-up as we get more data. And again, thanks to Fundación MAPFRE for being such a great partner.
Thank you very much for the introduction into the Safety Quest. Very interesting, and it's I think an excellent example of showcasing what in Learn we call the expansive themes, where in this case you put road safety lessons in the context of personal injury prevention and have a complete package. Really interesting and impressive to see the mobile vehicle. I have a quick look at the questions and answers panel. We have not received any, so I think all was clear. Thank you very much once again, and good luck with the Safety Quest project in Massachusetts.
Thank you.
And that leads us to conclude today's tour around the world. I think, and I agree with Dr. Hirsh, what he said, excellent presentations on the very interesting projects from across the continents of the world. Thank you very much to the speakers for providing us with the presentations. Thank you very much to those online attending this webinar. I hope you found it as interesting and inspiring as I found it. A special thank you as well to Fundación MAPFRE and the ADAC Stiftung for supporting the Learn project. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to the next period of Learn and do many more activities. And as Jesus mentioned at the very beginning, the first steps to another international Learn activity are being set at the moment. As mentioned, the recording and the presentation slides will be made available probably next week. And for now, thank you very much for joining us today, and hope to see you at the next Learn event. Thank you.